The go-to CPU for most gamers who prefer the Intel platform has been the Core i5 for pretty much the entirety of PC gaming's existence. Most Core i5s provide 4 physical cores, plenty of L3 cache, and most of the time, fairly modest clock speeds. But let's not forget the older brothers of these generations, the Core i7s to the respective Core i5s. While most people regard Core i7s as developer CPUs for people like myself who do more editing and things of that sort over gaming, are i7 still a viable option for gamers who play games way more than they do anything else? Let's find out. So very quickly, let's address the test bench that we'll be using for both of these CPUs. Now, as they are both from the same Haswell generation, we will be able to use the exact same test bench for both our Core i5 and Core i7 variants. If you have seen our 2-core versus 4-core CPU that I uploaded a while ago, then that test bench really hasn't changed much since then. If you haven't seen that video yet and you're curious about that, go ahead and click the link here and yeah, be entertained. We paired both processors with the exact same ASRock Z97 Extreme4 LGA 1150 motherboard and 8GB and 2 4GB variants of crucial tactical DDR3 clocked at 1600 MHz with a CAS latency of 8. I want to go back to 1600 MHz because I really like low latency stuff. It's pretty cool. We'll also be using a GTX 970 for our gaming benchmarks in particular. This particular variant of the 970 is the ASUS Strix version, and we've left those frequencies at stock. So whatever they came in out of the box as, we haven't messed with those at all. Do you remember what the stock frequencies were? Yeah, I don't either. One more thing I should know before we jump straight into the benchmarks is that both our 4690K and our 4790K are clocked at 4.6 GHz respectively, and we're both being water cooled by the exact same Corsair H90 all-in-one water cooler. So, let's get into the benchmarks. CPU synthetics first. So in all honesty, nothing about these tests in particular should have been surprising. The Core i7 has some serious performance gains over the Core i5, and that's due mostly to the fact that the Core i7 has hyper-threading, whereas the Core i5 does not. But how does this translate into frames per second? Is the Core i7 going to give you that much of an edge over the Core i5? Especially when you consider the fact that the Core i7 is $100 more on average than the Core i5. Let's find out with these next sets of benchmarks. Okay, if I'm being completely honest here, I've had the Core i5 for about 3 or 4 weeks now, and I've had the Core i7 for only a few days, but I've gamed plenty on this new machine since its purchase, and honestly, I don't see that much of an improvement. I mean, if you just get a Core i5 and a really awesome GPU, graphics card I should say, the GPU is just the chip inside the graphics card, you're going to be just fine. A Core i5 is not going to severely bottleneck any graphics card that you throw at it at this point in time unless you go all out with some Titan X's or something in SLI. I would say that for most gamers who expect to game anywhere between 1080p and 4K with just one monitor, a Core i5 and something like a GTX 980, 970, maybe an SLI, something like that, or an R9 390 or 390X on AMD's side will be just fine for all of your gaming needs. So situations in which I would recommend the Core i7 over the Core i5 would be in the case of video editors, photo editors, music editors, pretty much anything with editor at the end of it, and maybe some programs like AutoCAD if you use that, if maybe you're an engineer. Those kinds of programs will definitely benefit from the added threads. But if you're a casual gamer or even a professional gamer, I just personally don't see the viability in purchasing an i7 for $100 to $200 to even $1,000 more than a Core i5. Hyper-threading and even additional cores past maybe 6 just really don't give you that much of an added benefit in games. The law of diminishing returns is definitely applicable in this case. So if you're just a gamer and you don't do much editing at all, that's not really what you're into, stick with the Core i5, save that money, and invest that saved money into a more powerful graphics card. You will not be disappointed. This is Science Studio. Thanks for learning with us.